Tell you it's all good. 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 And it's all good. It's all good.
Podcasting from a town called Manalapan, New Jersey. This is That Oneness Guy, a podcast covering the many aspects and elements that embody oneness. I am your host, Danny Rongo, and yes, I am that oneness guy. As an author, singer-songwriter, and a podcaster, I continue to share my message of oneness. So as I like to say, my friends, let's get right into podcasting. For my last two episodes, I reverted back to narrating the chapters from my latest book, The Ways of Oneness, Helping to Navigate Life. I really hope you guys enjoyed those episodes as much as I do narrating them for you. And so you know, I will be continuing with that format. But for now, it was important for me to host another interview. So if you've been following along here in season 4, you know that I've had some really cool and engaging and inspiring chats with my guests. And these humanitarians, as I love to call them, all share their passion and insight as either social media influencers, radio hosts, holistic advocates, either charitable organizations, and also fellow spiritual authors. These individuals are taking measures to help society, to help me, to help you, to help our world in general, and to add awareness to the constant rise in oneness that we're all getting to witness. They accomplish this through their words, through their message, and also through their actions. And my guest for this latest episode falls perfectly into those categories. Let me tell you about Oneness Coach Lisa. Now, this is taken directly from her website. And I quote, "I look forward to helping each person in a complete way find the same balance and joy in life. This goal is truly at the center of who I am. I am passionate about what I do, and I am passionate about helping you find your inner bliss, your freedom, your best life in the here and now so that you can enjoy all the adventures that life has to offer you. Seeing my clients happy and reaching their goals, finding their true passions, and making steps forward to create the future that is right for them always brings a smile to my face. We are all given the gifts from birth. We are all made to do big things. This may mean that you will be challenging yourself to step up and step into the life you know you deserve, the life that is waiting for you. Live your best life now. Feel better from the inside out." Now, whether this means helping you with life coaching, unblocking yourself from personal blocks and adjusting your mindset to attain the goals you have set for yourself, or energy healing and moving on to a far greater and deeper inner peace and understanding, or personal training to motivate you and push you harder than you push yourself, or even better, a combination of these services to custom tailor to your exact needs right here, right now. Let's get the whole you in alignment so you can be, do, and have everything this life has to offer that you desire. The outcomes are waiting. All you have to do is be willing to do the work, the inner work on you, and then watch as life unfolds. It's time to live your best life. Let's do this together, unquote. She is a certified Chios master teacher, life coach, personal trainer who specializes in helping and healing our mind, body, and spirit, all in the name of oneness. My friends, say hello to my new friend. Please say hello to Oneness Coach Lisa. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Danny. Thank you for that wonderful intro. I appreciate that.
Right? I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. It was just a pleasure for me to read it. Like I was telling you just before, as I was going through your website, I was just captivated by that blurb about yourself and just the passion that it conveys, Lisa. This has been my trend for my 4th season here, I should say, with my podcast episodes, is to have these fellow humanitarians, like I mentioned, to share your stories, share your insight, share your blessings to my listeners and to hopefully everyone else who may be tuning in and around the world. And so far, it's been good. It's everything's been, so well received. So I love to have you in on this season. I'm looking forward to our little chat here. So, first of all, how you doing right now? Everything well with yourself?
Yes, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. Been having a beautiful day in this warm sunshine in Oregon right now.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. Like I mentioned, I have a brother who lives in the Pacific Northwest, and every time I get a chance to see him, I was just out there just a few months ago. I went out there for my 60th. And it was lovely because, there's a lot of rain and stuff like that and a lot of moisture in the air, which obviously you can attest to. But when that sun does peek through, like he's surrounded by so many beautiful waterways and Mount Rainier in the background, the evergreen trees, like everything is just so vibrant in color out there, and I'm sure it's got to be similar to where you are in Oregon. You're just below him out there, but is it?
It is, exactly. It's so just green everywhere. It's a forest across the street. I just love to get lost in it.
Right.
It's absolutely lush, like all the time from the rain, so I can't complain.
And now, are those some of the pictures from your website?
Yes,
Of where you're
that's
standing?
one of my favorite
Oh.
places.
It looks beautiful out there.
Yeah, it really is. I love it.
And as we
It's
know, something
beautiful
like
here.
that can just help you to stay grounded, like in so many ways, to be in touch with, with nature like that. That's beautiful.
It's
All right. So listen, my friend, give us a little background, Lisa, about yourself. I always like my listeners to hear the story of how how or what led you to become Oneness Coach Lisa. So tell us as little or as much as you'd like about your story. Love to hear.
Okay, thank you. So I was actually born and raised in Northern California, not too far from San Francisco.
Mhm.
Well, it was a little town, now it's huge. Vallejo, California is where I was born and raised. And then I ended up moving up here to the Pacific Northwest as a teenager. I had a really large family in California. They're all still there. They all still kind of stayed in that area. We went to church, 3 times a week. We read the Bible as a family, cover to cover several times before I was a teenager. So that was very much instilled in me. The one thing that really did strike me was the speaking about the angels in the Bible. That really touched me, resonated with me as a child. Later on in life, I realized that I had certain abilities that I tried to explain to my family back then. It really kind of just, they didn't know, understandably so. There was premonitions, if you will, or having dreams, and then they would come to fruition within the next day. It just happened all the time. My mom and my sister, whenever they would have like a great distress or trauma physically, I would feel it also at the same time. And just little things that continually happened and nobody could explain it. So I stopped mentioning it. And then not until March actually of 2018, when I decided to start meditating daily, consciously. And when I grew up, there wasn't anyone meditating in the family. We never heard of it. I never heard of energy healing whatsoever. Didn't know what a chakra was or an aura, nothing like that.
Wow, that's
It was
cool.
all foreign to me. And so
When you started feeling these things, Lisa, what is it like? Is it a muscle tingling? Was it like an internal nudging? Was it intuitive, or was it more physical? Like when you say you started to feel things, like if a family member was in distress or sick. Tell me a little about that.
Sure. Actually, it was all of those things, but separately. So the feeling, so my sister, I had this sharp pain in my hand really badly, so badly I could hardly move it one day. And I didn't understand what it was. And the next day, I found out my sister cut her left hand very badly while she was cooking, and I had to go to the emergency. So it was, I'm like, wow, that was exactly what it was in the same spot. I was confused. What is that even? I don't understand. And so my mom too was physical. When she was physically hurt from a mirror that had broke and shattered her, like broke into 100 pieces and hit her. And I could feel it. And I was like, Mom, are you okay? So that is like, now I understand it. Back then I didn't understand that. I had several dreams where, for instance, a family member, a good friend of the family, was walking down the aisle in a wedding dress, but we knew she wasn't married, wasn't seeing anyone. And then the next day she announced an engagement. So I'm like, what? What is that?
Get
And
out
this happened a lot, all the time. And then sometimes just an instant download. A family member, I would have just, and I was like as little as 7 the first time it happened. And I just had a complete knowing of their field, which I call a field, which is their aura, what's within their 6 feet of vibrational range of who and what you are. So your field, I call that the field. It's often called the aura. What was in her field? Like I could sense her upbringing. I could sense her traumas since she was little. It was a complete, just instant knowing. I didn't know what that was. So later I found out, come to meditate at 2018, March in 2018, that I had within 3 weeks, I started to have full visions, if you will, in my meditation. After my meditation, come to understand what and how the universe works and how it's all connected. It's how I could feel my mother, my sister through the quantum field or through the unified consciousness, because it's everything's connected, much like a tree is one, but there's tons of branches. That's kind of how I would say everything in the universe is connected. So therefore I could have that real-time connection. Then I didn't understand it. Now I can tap into it with no problem.
Wow. It's amazing. Obviously, I don't possess any of those talents that I would love to, but it just blows me away. Like whenever I speak to people who do have that, how you can just feel something, and then you find out, like you said, with that pain in your hand, and then you found out that your sister cut herself there.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. It's quite interesting. Like if I do ever, it's somebody who's really close to my heart.
Yeah.
Will have that. They're just so close to me. I am in tune with their field. So
let me ask you something else. Do you ever sense, like maybe if something grand or spectacular is happening or somewhere around the world, are you getting any of that channel to you? Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh yes. Yes. If there's an event, like a large population, and if their collective feeling, I will feel it.
Yeah.
I will also feel like in 2017, I could feel 2020, which is really weird. I didn't know how to explain it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Lisa.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, with like such a global consciousness that we're still involved in, being like the whole pandemic scene, did you sense or feel any portion or aspect of that, especially like last year in 2020? Were you feeling some?
Yes, it's true. You can feel that because it's all that collective feeling with the majority or
Yeah.
a large number of people. So there was specific things that came to me like either it came to me like there would be like a no, like kind of cell service, that sort of technology would be down a little bit. People would be not available to see each other. I didn't understand, what does that even mean? What does that look like? That's never happened. That makes no sense, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and then who knew that was going to happen the way it unfolded. But, as we know, where there's chaos, after that, it becomes like prior to something changing for the better, it looks like it's coming apart.
Sure.
But then it's actually just like in the universe, when there's a supernova star, then it forms the way it's supposed to in a much more beautiful way. So that's the way I'm kind of likening this to.
Yeah.
Coming apart so that we can put it back together better.
And along those lines, Lisa, like, have you ever felt, I guess this is an example of something that most people, most of society, like, would deal it as a troublesome situation. If you had to classify it, which we don't like to do in a spiritual world, as good and bad, we would put this in the bad column. Do you ever get any kind of global feeling from anything, like, say, like, for argument's sake, Christmas morning around the world? I have to think, as a spiritual person, I have to think that most of the people on the planet on Christmas morning are feeling something similar to a love, if you may. You know what I mean? And that from like a global stance, would you ever sense something on a positive like that, or something we would consider good in you do?
Like when the whole planet is kind of in like a, well, not everyone, but like on New Year's Eve, most people are in that positive receptive state where there's like a
Really?
bliss. There's like a bliss that just, and you can feel it. It's like a
Wow,
wave of energy.
that's so cool.
It's
Yeah,
frequency. Yeah. It's,
because as we know, energy and like especially how you receive them, there is no distinction between good and bad, and there's no
right.
judgment. So it's
Right.
not as if your source or your powers or your energy is going to just present to you just the good stuff or
Right.
the bad stuff, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
you're receiving it all. So listen, I want to dive into some of your specific practices and some of your specific functions. Like I was never aware of what Chios was. So I started reading through your website. I'm still a little in the dark. So give my listeners a little background on, what is this Chios energy healing, and you can tell us how you apply it to your practice.
Okay. That's a great question. Chios is not very widely well known. It's been around for about 20 years. It was, the creator is Stephen Barrett in Mount Shasta, California. And since it's only been around 20 years, not too many people have heard about it, but most people have heard of Reiki. That's been around about 100 years.
Sure. I was going to say, I am familiar with Reiki, but from our first conversation, you actually said that this picks up pretty much where like Reiki might like leave off.
Literally.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. So Chios does begin at where Reiki ends. So it's really just super profound, powerful, next level, the techniques in the energy healing. And I actually studied Reiki so that when I learned Chios, I wanted to know, well, what is Reiki so that I can understand it. So I learned it simultaneously as I was learning Chios. And then it is the first energy healing that's been known on, on Earth. So now we have Chios, which is if anyone has studied Reiki and they become a master of Reiki, I think that Chios is something that they personally probably would be very interested in because it's so powerful in what it can do and how it can help.
Okay.
Actually, my master teacher who I learned from, he actually uses this for cancer patients in the UK at the hospital. So after part of their healing, they have him do Chios with the patient, and they've noticed that it actually helps them to heal a lot faster, which is really interesting. And I love that they've incorporated that there. But anyhow, so Chios, a little bit more about Chios. The word Chios itself, the best translation to English is life force, which, kind of pretty much says what it does and what it is. So there's a lot actually to Chios, but the main thing is that you can do it in person, you can do it distant, just like the Reiki, except it's got levels that can go into, say, past life. It can go into whether someone, consciously is aware of that or not.
Interesting.
And you can go into all of the chakras and aura. Not everyone knows what that means exactly. So just briefly, the chakras, 7 main ones, but there are more. So the main ones are what people talk about.
Yes.
And if any of those get like blocked or out of balance, under or overcharged, meaning it can affect your life force, can create an illness if left unchecked for so long. And you want your own field to be with your own energy. And oftentimes through thoughts, you can have a slice in your auric field, which leaves an opening, and other particles, other energy is not yours, energy that might be unwanted can come in, and that's what can cause the blockage and etc. on wellness. So cleansing those and keeping those balanced and in check is what's going to give you the best chance at a full, healthy life force every day.
Wow. It's very, very cool. And, I always consider it when you talk about what might allow in some of the negative energies, negative vibrations, and it's that which would cause, like how we say, dis-ease. I like to take the word disease and then separate it, right? Because our like cells only know ease, but we, from our thoughts, from what we allow in, from blockage, we actually create that disease
Yes,
in,
literally.
in so many ways. Wow. I'm going to have to read so much more into that. I was also fascinated by, you know, how you touched on it just now about the chakra, and on your website, you specify aura and chakra cleansing as a service. Okay. Now, how do you apply that? Just
specifically, I use the word cleansing is just something that's most easily understood, kind of, because really a chakra in itself, each one of them are their own realm and they have their own vibration and frequency. So each one has its own true color of a frequency like color. And so they can be, and I say cleansing, it might really mean that it's blocked. And then also it could be overcharged, it could be undercharged, but most people don't know what that means. So if I say cleansing, it's really just going through and clearing everything from top to bottom to make sure that they're all as healthy and vibrant as they can be individually, so that they can help cause wellness to continue. Because obviously at our core, we're always well. The body's always trying to better heal itself continually. Just like when you get a cut, immediately starts to heal itself, working to regenerate your cells. The body wants to do that. The chakras want to do that, but sometimes they can't do that because they're blocked, and they're not going to unblock themselves. There are a few, first and second, 6 and 7 generally can manage to regulate themselves, but it's 3, 4, 5, and 6. A lot of times the throat chakra, the heart chakra, the solar plexus will get blocked. Our throat specifically, when we don't speak our truth, we don't speak up, we tend to block ourselves, and it can cause a backup literally in your chakras, because they flow like cones. They flow like a little vortex in each one.
Really?
Yeah.
So now, how do you sense when a specific chakra has a blockage? You know, what sends up like the red flag, as they say, in your practice? Is it a feeling again, or is it a vibration? Or
Well, that's a great question. Actually, I directly connect to that person. It physical. So I'm not. Maybe you're at home on the other side of the United States. I will connect to your essence, and then I can see in my mind, kind of like an X-ray. So I'll be able to see what you need. I'll be able to see through either a shape showing me something that might be overcharged, so I need to bring that back down to balance, or under or blocked. I'll see any impurities, energies that are not yours within your field. I'll be able to go into the chakra itself, into the realm within the quantum field. I know it sounds a little deep or confusing a little bit, because honestly, it's unless you have experienced it, it's really, really unusual. But the people that I have all done this with, they have felt it on their side very powerfully.
wow.
No matter where they're at. Yeah.
So
very, very powerful.
Do you have to have a specific open format with I'm gonna say patient of yours, like when you're dealing with someone to try and check their chakras? Do you have to have them on a phone, on a Zoom meet? Does it have to, like, you have to see them or hear them, or how do you just find your way to tap into them?
That's a good question. Actually, I just need a photo and their first name. I like to know what part of the planet they're on, but honestly, I don't actually need that, but it is good because it helps me to get there quicker. So if I my friend send a picture of her daughter, she's like, I need you to please help her. Not a problem. I just like to know her name so I can address her entire consciousness, her essence.
Okay.
I will go with her. Some people say higher self. It's her true self. So I'm connecting with them, that essence of that person, and then I can connect to them. And then we just go from there. So I don't need to ever like talk on the phone. I don't need to text them. I don't need to see their face and on a Zoom call. I can just immediately.
Lisa, I am so amazed by that. Some like years ago, I mentioned in our first chat that I'm a direct disciple, so to speak, of Wayne Dyer, and he's been my guru for my entire life. And had to be probably about 20 odd years ago. That was the first time that I heard about any kind of distant healing. And what happened with him, he was very, very, very ill. And his story, he goes on to talk about, I don't know if you heard of John of God down in Brazil. Google that name, John of God. And he actually cured Wayne through his process. It was a complete like 3-day event where he was in Brazil and Wayne was at his home out in the Hawaiian Islands, and went through this entire process. Like Wayne was told what he needed to do. He had to dress in a certain white garb. He had to be in his room by himself for the complete, like I believe, 48 to 72 hours. His story is documented. It's online. I may be off with some of those figures or numbers or days, but it was just mind-boggling how after that he was totally cured from a like life-threatening illness. And so, you know, I was captivated, like when I went through your site and like heard that this is exactly what you're alluding to, is a distance healing. But share like some more about that. I love it.
Well, let's see. There is one that I did that was in the UK. And of course, it's all distant. Even with the COVID, it was like distant. Everyone preferred distant. I was doing a lot of in-person, but then I just switched to distant. It seemed to be more convenient. People were always available in their own home. So it worked out really well. They just lie down in a nice quiet space, you know, close your eyes and just relax and receive. That's what I always say, relax and receive. And they do. And basically this one person had a lot of physical pain. Called fibromyalgia, and I'm not a doctor, so I don't know, you know, all of what that entails. I just know that it was painful, very painful thing. So I really concentrated on helping the pain. So I can focus on whatever it is. If it's a, you know, a one thing like a pancreas or a liver, I can focus on that, specific techniques to help that. But this person was in just the pain, I guess, moves by day to a different part of their body. So I just focused on their whole body. And at the end, they said that literally it was like having a powerful painkiller. They had no pain and they felt totally blissful. And I was so thankful, so thankful that they were feeling good, because that was something that was just tormenting them.
I can't imagine how that makes you feel.
I'm so grateful and thankful, really.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, like let alone your person who you're helping there. You, it has to be such an amazing thing to feel that, and especially to, you know, like to see it work.
It's so wonderful. Like it brings me to tears sometimes, because I can be in their chakra. So in the heart, some people will have a lot of pain, and it moves me so greatly that I find myself sometimes having tears for their pain. But I realize that, you know, once I separate from their energy, that, you know, it's that feeling is gone, but, you know, such compassion for everything people have gone through in their life.
Wow, that's wonderful. You know, I've been meaning to ask you too, and I've asked all of my guests here throughout this year, like how, obviously, you know, what we talked about earlier regarding the global pandemic and how we're seeing it evolve and change and just affect all of our lives. Have you felt it affect what you do from like a practice perspective? Like, have you seen more people reaching out for you, less people reaching out for you, or are more people inquisitive about what Chios is or about any of your practices now? Like, have you sensed, in other words, this event like sparking something in your sector at all?
Yes, I do feel like there have been more people, possibly because of isolation, that they've had more time to reflect on themselves, look inside themselves, look within, and really just take a step back and looking at everything around them, which is kind of triggering something about, you know, what else is going on, what more is there in life, and so there's these questions. I found these questions, people looking to see what it is that is inside them, like maybe just wanting to learn to meditate. And, you know, like when I started, it was just 5 minutes. So I encourage people just start with 5 minutes. It's all you can do. Add a minute a day and just go with that. And because really quieting the mind is so key, so key. It sounds so simple, But deep breathing, the oxygen is what we need. It changes your brain waves. It actually helps open your more neural pathways. Water, as pure water as you can have. Well, also, we're 70% water. These three simple things will make drastic change for anyone, truly, for the better.
Oh,
So I try to give them where they're at. If it's just a little something, then I'll share a little. But if they're looking deeper and they're having their own personal, some people call it awakening. I call it experience, getting to know who and what you truly are. Then I'll go deeper.
I've like how we spoke on our first chat. I've sensed a definite increase in people's awareness, people looking to like question like a little more. Like I gave you the example of my my dear friend who just called me just the other day, and he said, listen man, I'm having just a tough go of it, and like he wanted to reach out to me just to get some, either I don't know if it was a clarification on what's going wrong with his wife, but he knows, but he was reaching out. He wanted to seek an answer. He wanted to find out why. And so many people are like kind of uncovering, I like to say, that like version of their spirituality. And sometimes, hey, it takes events like this, as we know, that they're going to look at their life, they're going to look at the world around them and say, well, I'm part of this now at this time and place. How do I get through it? Like that was the whole premise for my most like recent book, Lisa, is that I was having such a tough go of it myself. Like when it first came out, and I couldn't wrap my head around the level of fear that I was privy to, and that the whole world was experiencing and witnessing firsthand. Like everyone was just so terrified over this, and I'm like, whoa. So again, being part of a collective consciousness, I took that into a point where it was affecting me. So I had to, go within myself, find out my own solutions, find my way out of it, put the brakes on. And when I did that, I said, well, it helped me. Now, how can I share that? That's what we do. So that's what led to me writing my recent book, helping to navigate life, the ways of oneness. So it was wild for me just to see so many people being affected and how they were reaching out. And just in my corner of the world, like I said, I had some friends and family members, but it was definitely something that we'll be able to look back at, hopefully look back on, and at some point in time, and say, hey, we got through it.
Exactly.
All right.
And we made it better.
Yeah.
We came through better.
Yeah. Well, because there's the ways to look at everything, Lisa. Because we know everything is a choice. We have a choice to look at this as something horrific. That's how I started looking at it naturally, just like most of the planet. Like, oh my God, what is this? And then like when you start to like understand that there's no accidents in a perfect universe, and then you start thinking about it a little more, like, say, this happened at this time for a reason. You can see some of the signs. Like I have a dear friend of mine who said, Dan, why do you think this happened in the year 2020? What do we associate that word with? Clarity, 2020. I'm wearing glasses, right? Right? Like perfect vision. And, so like when you look at things like that, like it happened during that year, it was kind of a clarity for humanity.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so you start to look at it from those eyes, or through those eyes, I should say. And sometimes like it makes a little more sense. It's still tough to get out of it, but I think we're on our way, right? Wouldn't you think we're getting?
I absolutely agree with that.
On that tipping point, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. But what I want to do right now, my friend, if you don't mind, is I like to do this. I like to throw a little surprise to my guests. I want to ask you a question. It's a simple question, and you can answer it in as many words as you want, or as little words as you want.
Okay.
And it has a connection with the two of us, obviously. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. The question is this: why oneness?
Oh, that's easy. Actually, the word in meditation, it kept coming up. And I was not familiar with this oneness word. I just kept seeing oneness. The word oneness 3 times came. And I said, what are you guys trying to tell me exactly? So then I really thought about it. I'm like, okay, so basically oneness, meaning the part of one, that's all of us, everything, seen and unseen, everywhere, not just this universe, but everywhere. We're all one. And people will be a little, what is this oneness? Well, we literally are one energy field everywhere. So it had to be. That is who and what we are.
And this led to the oneness coach. Lisa, that was absolutely wonderful. And it's a great answer, by the way, just so heartfelt and passionate. Thank you so much. And it's funny because everyone that I've asked this question, in fact, you can easily go back to all of my last podcasts where I've asked my friends this. Everyone has had such a heartfelt and beautiful response, and everyone has been so unique and so different, and yours included. But everyone, like when I say why oneness, they feel it differently, and they express it from their own essence, and it's so cool. So I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you so much. So listen, what I would like you to do right now is tell my friends listening, tell them, because as I mentioned on the first time that we spoke, this podcast will be released first through the podcast world on your basic podcast channels and networks and apps and everything else. I will also be putting this out probably sometime shortly after that. It'll be on YouTube as well, so we can see this. So I'll be listing everything right down here as you see it below us. Tell my friends here the best ways to follow and to stay in touch with Oneness Coach Lisa.
Okay. So my website is oneness-coach.com. And then on there, you'll see also a quick link to just send an email. And that one is onenesscoachlisa@gmail. I put on there. And then there is an actual phone number listed there as well if somebody wanted to dial in. That's a 503-218-3799.
Okay.
And I was actually previously in the Facebook and the Instagram, which I removed those from the website, but they are still out there. So you can actually find me as well on there, which is Oneness Coach on Instagram, and then Oneness Coach Lisa on Facebook as well. I just don't have the quick links on the website.
Okay. And my friends and listeners know that I will also be sharing all of this contact information in the description of the podcast. So however you choose to listen to this podcast, just go to the description of the show and you will also find all of Lisa's information all right there. So with that said, I want to thank you again for listening to the podcast. I'm calling That Oneness Guy. This has been episode number 37, an interview with my new friend, Oneness Coach Lisa. If you like what you've been listening to, please take a moment, my friends, to subscribe to this feed. You can find That Oneness Guy on any and all of your favorite podcasting sites and apps. For my YouTube friends, as I just mentioned, please subscribe to my channel. That includes all of my podcasts, the vlogs, and all of the many music videos, interviews, and performances that many of you know me as my alter ego, which happens to be Danny Ronco. So you can find that stuff there as well, too. So please do subscribe. Just search for That Oneness Guy. And I am still, I should say not still, but I am back on social media in the ways of just Twitter and Instagram. Just look for That Oneness Guy. And as always, please check out my sites. For my first book, I Am God and So Are You, my friend. That is IamGodBook.com. For more of my musical stuff, you can look at DannyRongo.com. And last but definitely not least, please visit ThatOnenessGuy.com for everything that you're seeing and hearing right here. And finally, before I close things out, I'd like to say that You can find my new book that I mentioned, The Ways of Oneness, Helping to Navigate Life, is available on Amazon via their Kindle version. So just visit Amazon.com and search for my book and you'll find it. So for now, again, my friends, my name is Danny Rongo. I am that oneness guy. Please look for my next show. And as always, I send you peace, love, light, and continued oneness. Namaste.
So high, it's just perception, and I'll tell